Hello and welcome to the Luxe Life with me, Sneha Menon Desai. On episode 2, we're diving into the world of luxury watches. Who are some of the Indian celebrities that have the most envious watch collection? What does it take to own a watch in the Holy Grail? And what are some watches that you should really set your sights on? I'm chatting with Karan Vaidya from the House of Rose, and you're coming with me.
Now people are not just looking at what are the standard watches that other people are wearing, because of course those are status symbols, but truly unique, one-of-a-kind pieces, because Indian celebrities are now really getting into watches. Shah Rukh has absolutely the most incredible watch collection. The watch that he wore to the Met Gala is $2.5 million US retail, and in the secondary market it sells way higher than that.
Karan, welcome to the Hollywood Reporter India, my show Luxe Life. I want to dive all into the world of watches, and I figured who better than you at the House of Rose to do this. So thank you for agreeing.
Most welcome, always, Sneha.
I really just want to understand. Disclaimer right at the start, I'm a complete watch noob. I own one watch, tells me the time, but I figured that there is this whole world out there where I see actors, celebrities just flaunt the most incredible watches, and I just want to get into the heart of it. So first things first, tell me, according to you, who are some of the Indian celebrities that have the most envious watch collection?
Of course. Firstly, thank you for having us and coming to the House of Rose.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. So, of course, I mean, everyone knows, it goes without saying, Anant Ambani has by far the best watch collection, not just in India, probably in the world.
Oh, yeah?
But in terms of celebrities, I think Shah Rukh has absolutely the most incredible watch collection. The watch that he wore to the Met Gala is $2.5 million US retail, and in the secondary market it sells way higher than that. Of course, Salman also has amazing watches. He has a Patek Philippe minute repeater, which is like fully sapphire studded. It's one of the most incredible watches in the world. Sanjay Dutt was one of the original watch collectors in Bollywood, and of course he has a Roger Duby dual tourbillon or a leopard Daytona, and of course Ranbir and Ranveer also have some great watches as well.
I just love the passion with which you talk about all of these watches. But if I were to ask you today, what are some of those really in vogue watches that you see your celebrity clients want to get their hands on? What would they be?
So, I mean, of course, the Rolexes, APs, Pateks, Richard Milles are obviously the most popular ones, and that is by far the most popular ones that they want. But more than that, you're seeing a lot more celebrities venture out into truly unique and different watches. So the Bvlgari Octo Finissimo is becoming quite popular. Then people are liking the Blancpains, the Brigades, and of course independent watches as well, which is the F. Pigeons, MB&Fs. So it's a wide variety, because now people are not just looking at what are the standard watches that other people are wearing, because of course those are status symbols, but truly unique, one-of-a-kind pieces, because Indian celebrities are now really getting into watches.
So that's what I want to know. As a watch connoisseur yourself, how are you, or is there a way to tell when someone really knows their watches or they're just there for the flex?
So, of course, I explain this to a lot of my clients, like you can't say you're like an investor in the financial markets by buying mutual funds or index funds. So in the sense that if you tell me you're a watch collector and you only have Rolexes, APs and Pateks in your watch collection, to me you're not a true watch collector, right? Because there are so many other watch brands out there, whether it's Vacheron, Bvlgari, F. Pigeon, MB&F, de Bethune, such a wide variety of things that exist in the world today. If you are not looking at anything except those two top 3 or 4 brands that everyone wants, then you're not really a watch collector in my eyes.
You know, I keep hearing about the Holy Trinity. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Break that down for me. Help me understand what that's about.
So actually, the Holy Trinity is a term that got coined in the 80s and 90s. And the Holy Trinity actually doesn't include Rolex. People just assume it's Rolex, but it's Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, Vacheron Constantin. They're three of the most storied watch maisons back in the 80s and 90s. All of them have more than 200 years of legacy, and they make some of the most incredible watches in the world. So, of course, it is something that, so contrary to popular belief, Rolex is not in the Holy Trinity. And so they make some of the most incredible watches, and they make everything from dress watches to and very complicated watches. Like Vacheron Constantin made the most complicated watch in the world, this Watches and Wonders. And
You say complicated. Explain.
So there were more than 270 complications on the watch. So that means everything from a chronograph to a perpetual calendar, which means basically it sets the time, of course, the moon phase, of course, the date, the year. So it also takes care of the leap year. Then there's also Chinese calendar. And so there are multiple functions. Then there's also...
The more the complications?
The more, exactly. So that showcases how good a watchmaker brand possibly is. Then there's also a complication called the minute repeater. A lot of these complications in today's day and age don't make as much sense from a practicality point of view, but it just showcases watchmaking. So a minute repeater, for example, is a watch where you press a gong and it tells you the time by hitting different gongs. Now, that in today's day and age, you don't really need. But then in the darkness, when there was no electricity, you needed that. A tourbillon, for example, helps keep the time accurate and fights gravity. But that made sense in a pocket watch. Today, in a wristwatch, when you're moving your wrist, it's not as relevant, but it still showcases the watchmaking capability of a brand.
Right. No, so the Holy Trinity, like you said, of course, doesn't retail out of India.
Yes.
So what does it entail to own one of those watches? What is the duty like? How does that world work, owning one of these watches?
So a lot of actually watch brands don't sell in India because the duty and tax structure is very high. So just to give you context, the duty for wristwatches in India is 22%, one of the highest in the world. Like places like Singapore and Dubai is less than 5%.
Okay.
On top of that, we have a GST of 18%.
Wow.
So we have a GST of 18%. And now if the watch is above 10 lakhs, there's also a TCS of 1% on the transaction. So for people to buy those watches, either you would have to buy it overseas and import the watch into India, which would then obviously be applicable for 22% duty, 18% GST, and then, of course, TCS.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You early on in the chat mentioned the secondary market.
Yeah.
I want to get a little bit of an understanding of what that is. What is that like?
So it's basically demand and supply, right? So what happens is if a brand makes 100 watches and 1,000 people want it. Mm-hmm. So what happens is a customer would go to an authorized retailer like us, buy the watch, and then go to a secondary market reseller, as you have in shoes, and then sell the watch and then make money on top of that. And then the reseller would then sell it at further profit. Why people are talking about that a lot is in COVID, especially, like after the pandemic, people started looking at watches as an investment because people had a lot more free time and money to be spending. And so then the secondary market on certain watches went through the roof. So in 2022, they were at an all-time high. Of course, they've come down since then, but it's still much higher than what it was pre-pandemic.
So what would you see the markup like in a secondary market purchase?
So it depends. It completely depends on watch, how old it is, does it have box and paper, so all of that. It's not for me to tell you a Rolex watch will have a 50% markup or something else would have a 20% markup because it all depends on each watch individually.
Okay. You know, I know someone who tried to enter a Patek store abroad and he was literally told, we don't wish to start a relationship with you right now.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
So basically what that means is at the end of the day, it is like any market, like you have for sneakers, right? The only difference between sneakers and watches is sneakers, you have to go on a Nike website or wait in a line to buy or wait in a line for whether it is veg, non-veg or super cakes or whatever. You wait in a line to get the shoe, then you can get the shoe and sell it to a reseller. The difference between here between buying a watch and buying a pair of sneakers is that it all is relationship dependent. So what is your buying history? What more have you bought
Sort of like the Birkins.
Sort of like the Birkin, exactly. So like in terms of if you are only looking to buy the most premium product of a retailer, they may not entertain you unless you have a buying history with them. And that could be brand, that could be retailer, that could be any retailer of certain watches, because at the end of the day, if they're basically handing you a watch that is worth 200 rupees and they're selling it to you at 100, they would want something from you or believe that they have some potential of future business from you.
So then you end up building your purchase history by buying
other products, right? Like in Hermes, how people buy those bracelets or they buy the shoes and stuff like that.
And
so
then
that
you build up your purchase history to be offered the product that you actually want.
That's, the thing is, it's very easy if you don't want to go through that, you don't need to buy that product.
Okay.
I'm not saying that I do that, but I'm just saying that people want products that is difficult to get because it is a status symbol. So it is like Veblen goods. As the price goes up in something, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where more people will want it because they want to be flexing that Daytona watch or that Nautilus. But you don't have to do that. You can buy something else, which is much easier to buy, which would be at that price or even a higher price. But you want that watch. Then people complain about, oh, I'm not getting the watch that I want. But the reason you want it is because it's difficult to get. If it was available at a store, like what happened with Yeezys, right? Like when it was difficult to get, everyone wanted it. Now nobody wants it.
Yeah. What is one of the watches that you found like the hardest to source? Is there a story there?
So, honestly, we do this a lot for a lot of our clients. Of course, not to get into specific details and stuff, but like when people start buying very high-end watches, they also want like customization. So I remember one celebrity for their wife's milestone birthday wanted to get a watch customized. So we spoke to the brand in Switzerland. We were speaking about it for a couple of months, etc. And of course, everything was on track. And then last minute, it obviously took longer in customs to clear. And I remember sitting out of India and coordinating my person going to customs after we paid the duties and all of that, getting the watch picked up and delivering it to his house and gift wrapping the watch in the car and entering just in time for the birthday party.
Well, you did it.
Yeah. Very stressful, but we did it, yeah.
But does it happen that you have film teams reach out to you to like source watches for a character in a role? Or
So that does happen, but it happens more so in Hollywood than it does in Bollywood, because what happens in Bollywood is more so that the film is already happening. Mm-hmm. And then, like, for example, Made in Heaven partnered with Bvlgari, where all their products were seen in different scenes, etc.
Right.
But in terms of Hollywood, the first product placement in film was actually Omega with James Bond.
Right.
So Jean-Claude Beaver, who is one of the most legendary people in the watch industry, sold Blaupa to Swatch and then started heading Omega. And in the 90s, he was the first guy who told James Bond that we will pay as long as you give a clear product placement for James Bond to be wearing an Omega watch. And so that was very successful. And now with every James Bond film that comes out, Omega launches a new watch. And even now you'll see with the Formula One, with IWC. So when the product is created specifically for the character, that works really well. For example, even Tag Heuer last year, Ryan Gosling was wearing it as the Barbie watch. And like that really, like, I remember this bright pink watch when we bought it, we were assuming that when we got it to us, so we were assuming that it's a lady's watch. Yeah. But you saw so many men coming for the Barbie watch.
Wow.
And so certain things, as long as it's positioned correctly and with a thought in mind, then it really works.
So tell me a little bit about positioning then. Like, tell me your 3 favorite watch brands and what audience each of them is catering.
So in terms of watch brands, I honestly don't have a favorite because I see this day in, day out, and every brand is good for a specific different thing. But I definitely feel like in terms of, I'm going to take this question a little further in terms of building a watch collection. I feel like the 3 watches that every guy would need if you're creating a watch collection is you need to have a steel sports watch. So like whether that's a Rolex, Omega, AP, Patek, that's up to your budget, of course. Then you need a dress watch. So whether that's a JLC.
What is a dress watch?
So a dress watch is a slightly smaller watch on a leather strap with like complications in it. So it depends on your budget. But Blancpain is great for that, for example, where they make a beautiful calendar watch. And then I would also say you need like a sporty watch. So Hublot was the first brand to put a rubber strap on a gold watch in the 80s. But like there's so many brands like Frank Muller, Bvlgari, which all make really, really cool sports watches, which is like kind of your rugged everyday watch, which you can wear on a rubber strap. So I feel like those are the three watches that every man needs in his collection.
And what about the ladies? Don't leave us behind.
So, of course. So, with ladies' watches, I think it's a little different how you do it. I think you need a steel gold watch for every day, which you can dress up, dress down. Then you need a one leather watch, whether it's a dress watch with like diamonds or with color stones, etc. That obviously depends on your budget. And then you need one plain steel watch that you can wear every day, or some women prefer like a black leather. It depends on you.
Nice. And I have some quick final questions for you. You're going to help me rank the best watch that money can buy.
I honestly feel like I'm very biased when it comes to this. So I feel like the best watch that money can buy is a watch that you genuinely like. What people have forgotten is that at the end of the day, watches, fine. You can invest in a watch, sure. And maybe you want the watch to hold its value, etc. But people are buying watches for the investable value out of it rather than what they actually like. Because I genuinely tell people, don't buy a watch that will grow in value if you're never going to wear it, or it's something that you don't like. So the best watch money can buy is very specific to each person, and everyone has the Grail watch. You should just buy you should buy it for the right reasons. That's what I believe.
Do you own your Grail watch?
The thing is, it's kind of like every time I have a Grail watch and I buy it, then there's always something else. You think that you're done with 5, 7, 8, and then every time you buy something, then you always want something more. It's kind of like a hedonistic treadmill, right? So if I'm done with it, then I will never buy another watch. So there's always something more that you always want.
Okay. So what's your Grail watch right now?
For me, right now, my Grail watch is the Octo Finissimo Ultra Mark. It's the slimmest watch in the world. It's 1.7 mm thick. And they just launched in Watches and Wonders this year. It's one of the truly craziest watches I've ever seen. And it does not feel like you're wearing a watch on your wrist when you wear it.
I wish it for you very soon. What's the rarest watch one can get in India?
So, rarest watch, there are a lot of one-of-one pieces, right? So, like, a lot of brands customize watches. For example, Blancpain does this amazing thing where you have like a photograph or like a god, and they will create like an enamel painting of what you want specifically. So they either do it with enamel or they do it with shakudo, which is like sculptural work on the dial specific to what you want. Like that, for me, if it's personal to me, that's the rarest watch you can get.
Yeah. The one watch everyone asks you for, but is impossible to get your hands on.
I mean, everyone asks me for like the Omega Snoopy or the Rolex Daytona, and those are things that like you will get. It's just that you have to wait. That's what it is.
And how long is this wait?
So it really depends. It's not a subjective question it's not like I can't give you like a specific answer of how long you need to wait for a specific watch, because it all depends on your buying history and how important the person who is giving you the watch thinks you are. Wow. Unfortunately, that's how it works. And so it could be 2 months, or it could be 2 years, 3 years. It really depends.
And people wait.
A lot of people do end up waiting, because at the end of the day, it's basically like the person is handing you free money because you are buying something below what the market actually aspires value to it. So if you are willing to wait, the best things take time. If it's so easy to get, it's not.
That's a nice way to put it. What's the best value for money watch that you own?
The best value for money watch I own is actually my dad had designed a watch for Frank Muller maybe like 18 years back. It was for 60 years of independence. He had designed 2 watches, which was one was a master banker and one was a secret hour. So it's the best value for money watch for me because he's designed it.
What was your first watch?
My first watch, it was a Bvlgari Octo by Retro. So Bvlgari actually bought Gerald Genta. He's one of the most famous watch designers in the world. So he's designed the Royal Oak, he's designed the Nautilus, he's designed the Constellation Omega, he's designed the IWC Ingenieur, which has also become quite popular now. And so he's a storied name in the watchmaking industry. So they bought this brand back then, and he was very well known for retrograde watches. So what that means is it's 0 to 60, and then at 60 it like flips back. So at my 18th birthday, my parents gave me a choice to buy watches, and at that time I did not know much about watches. I just was given a free hand and a budget and to choose, and I just like reached out to this watch, and that's why it's very special to me.
Lovely. And finally, just use this as a platform to tell people about some watch brands that you hope that people sort of discover thanks to you.
So the thing is, I feel like customers in India should be looking at far more niche brands, because I genuinely feel like they make very, very cool watches. So I already mentioned Berens, Raketa, FP Journe if you have the budget. It's fantastic watches. MB&F. They've just recently launched a lower end category of watches called the Mad One. Amazing watches, and 3000 CHF, so amazing. And just generally look out for different watch brands. I think Kudoki makes great watches. There's Studio Underdog. There are multiple watch brands. Constantin Chicken is, of course, fantastic, but now his watches have become quite expensive, but amazing watches that everyone makes all over the world. And I feel like if you're a true watch collector, you should be looking at these different unique watches, not just the standard ones, which are, of course, fantastic watches. Like, I mean, you can't compete with like the likes of Omega, the kinds of watches they've been making and for how many centuries they've been making it, of course. Blancpain, for example, is the oldest watchmaker in the world. They've never made a quartz watch in almost 200 years. They've been there around since 1735. So, of course, the big brands are fantastic, but I feel like I believe a watch collection should be diverse.
Yeah.
And it should represent the different facets of your personality, and nobody has just one kind of personality. So, that's what I believe.
Yeah. No, I wish you your Holy Grail very soon. And, my husband doesn't watch the interviews I do, but I think that this is one that he will watch. So
I mean,
thank you for talking to me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.